Hello, and welcome. Hi, everybody. Happy reInvent. I'm John Turo. I'm the head of product for Amazon Recognition, which is a computer vision service. And today, I'd like to tell you a little bit about what is Rekognition and why is it important. And especially, I want to talk about what customers are doing with it and maybe what you can do with it, too. So to start at the very beginning, Rekognition is a deep learning-based service that you have to work on the slides. Rekognition is a deep learning-based service that processes images and videos and extracts information. What's in your media? What can you find out by asking questions about it? When you think about using Rekognition, the way to think about it is, what kinds of questions do you want to ask about it? Who's in my image? What is their pose? What is their attitude? What is their demographic? Do I know this person? What objects are in the image? Is it safe for my customers? And Rekognition provides APIs that you can hit, each according to different questions that you might like to ask about your images or your video. Now, it's a managed service, so you get the benefit of these amazing capabilities, plus the continuous improvement and the low cost and the serverless interface that you'd expect from any managed service from AWS. In addition, and this is really important, with Rekognition, your data is your own. You choose whether you want to keep it entirely private or whether you want to share it with Amazon to help make Rekognition better over time. Beyond features and benefits, the way to think about Rekognition is in terms of who's using it. What are customers doing with it? Here's some examples of patterns that we've started to see in the 2 years since we launched the service. We'll talk about some of these, and there are many more. In specifics, there's a humbling set of customers and partners who have already started to speak publicly about what they're doing with Rekognition. And here's a sample of those. So let's dive into the specifics of Rekognition, the questions you can ask about your images and your video in context of what customers are doing with it. And we'll talk about it in terms of the first 3 use cases that we're seeing happen quite a lot. So we'll talk about media content discovery. We'll talk about detection and moderation of safe content. And we'll talk about recognition and analysis of faces for customer engagement. First, to media discovery, which can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. To our customers, it often means one of 4 things: broadcasting and discovery of live events, search of historical media libraries to make them relevant all over again, and enrichment and metadata extraction for social media and for influencer marketing. And within that huge area, there's a set of common questions that media customers tell us they want to ask about their images and their video. Who's in it? What are the activities and the objects in it? And where's the action happening? So let's dive in a little bit closer. Celebrity detection is a really powerful feature of Rekognition. It's something that's maybe easy to wrap your mind around. In an image or a video, Rekognition can quickly identify the faces of well-known public personalities. You don't have to catalog those yourself. You don't have to tell us who they are. You provide the images in the video, and you're going to get a bounding box plus a confidence score that says, that's John Krasinski, that's Wendell Pierce. And we'll find the same person in different poses and different costumes. Turns out actors wear costumes sometimes. As an example, last year was at the royal wedding. Sky News in the UK actually did a live stream of the royal wedding and used Rekognition in the background, flagging all of the celebrities who were there. Powerful. All against streaming video. Of course, there's more than celebrities in your media that you'd like to discover. Rekognition also takes those same images and those same videos and helps you label the objects in them. Objects like a person or a car or a skateboard. Also, concepts, a bit more abstract, architecture, transportation, parking, and even scenes. So you can start to find out where the action is happening. Is this downtown? Is it in the city, on the road? Now, I told you as a benefit of using a managed service like Rekognition, you get features which improve over time, and this is very much one of those. Just a couple weeks back, we launched an announcement to the label recognition functionality that not only detects the objects in your images, but for really important images that our customers care a lot about, we will give you bounding boxes that are tightly wrapped around those objects in your image or your video. All of a sudden, now you can see their position, their size, their prominence. You can see their relationship to one another. The man is on the skateboard, the dog is on the couch. You can count how many of them are in the image too. And when you look at this, you're actually going to get a JSON that tells you the relationship between these objects to each other and to an overall taxonomy that you can use to organize the images. When we draw these bounding boxes around people, that's something that we see a lot of customers wanting to do when they're processing, for example, a live event, maybe a sports game. Rekognition lets you track the path of an individual within your frame. You can find out that this football player is moving from the left to the right of the screen and draw a box around him and follow them. You can enrich that with text, labels, information that's going to be more interesting to your audience. And yes, there's even more in the image. Let's talk about text. Street signs, plates, t-shirts, advertisements. With Rekognition, even if the text is oriented in a strange way, has a really elaborate font, you can extract that information from your image as text. You can speak it to your customers with Poly. You can translate it with Translate. You can get semantic meaning with Comprehend. You can store it in Dynamo. All this information just bursting out of the media and helping your customers discover it. Now, I promised that when we talk about all these features, I was going to emphasize what it is that customers are doing with it. So let's do that. I'd like to invite Tom Jakes, who's the VP of Engineering for Tinder, who's going to talk about what they're doing with Rekognition today.
Thank you, John. So as John mentioned, I'm the VP of Engineering. And I'm going to talk to you about how we're using Rekognition scene and object detection. So before I do that, let me tell you a little bit about what Tinder is. So Tinder is a social discovery app for dating, and our mission is to make being single more fun and rewarding by introducing our members to new people to connect with in real life. To those of you who are unfamiliar with the app, you basically become a member, swipe right on the people who you like. If they like you too, it's a match, and then you can chat with them and set something up. Before I dive into how we're using Rekognition, I'm going to talk a little bit about the kind of scale and some of the challenges that we face at Tinder. So Tinder is a massive scale service. We've got members all over the world. We've had more than 300 million downloads of our app. We have members using our service out of over 190 countries. They're swiping over 2 billion times every day, which creates over 26 million matches. And while they're doing all of this, they're downloading and viewing and interacting with over 10 billion photos every day. So what are some of the challenges that we face? So Tinder tries to answer questions for our members to really understand who would they like to see? Who will they match with? Of the people who they match with, who's going to chat and are they going to have successful conversations? And while we're doing this, what content can we show you to help achieve these outcomes, and how can we best present it to you? Tinder faces many, many challenges serving recommendations relevance to achieve these outcomes at scale. And data is essential to do this. We ingest over 40 terabytes of data every day that feed into our analytics and machine learning systems. So the way that we do this is Tinder is built using AWS. And we're a relatively lean company for the scale that we operate. And while our product has experienced hypergrowth, we've been able to keep up with that scale and demand by using AWS's infrastructure. As our product has innovated, AWS has too. And we've been able to leverage their productive ecosystem to help empower our teams to solve problems and provide value to our members. We really like what AWS has to offer, and it's been a great match for us. So coming back to challenges, the first challenge that I mentioned is how do we figure out who you're going to like? And photos, this is where they come into the picture because they're the biggest part of that decision. We know that this is true, and we see it in the data. The more photos that you have, the more successful that you are in matching. Now, not only are they the most important part of this, but another really important part, what do you say about yourself in your bio, is really hard to do. What do you say about yourself when you're presented with a blank text box? Filling in that detail is really challenging, and many members don't say anything. Photos are so powerful because they do the talking for you. We'll come back to how we get them to speak in a minute. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit. Back in September, Tinder launched Top Picks, which is a premium service that provides high-quality potential matches for our subscribers to swipe on. We have over 4 million subscribers to our services, and Top Picks is available daily to our Gold subscribers. We wanted to really shine a spotlight on what makes our members unique and interesting, so we developed tags, which you can see on the right, to do so. Tags highlight qualities about our members on their profile cards that make them really stand out. Top Picks has shown great increased engagement compared to our core recommendations. And beyond that, when we see these compelling tags on these profiles, we see a further 20% lift. So coming back to photos again, in Top Picks with these tags, we see this really great engagement. But one of the issues that we have is low tag coverage. So we're trying to figure out how can we increase the number of members that we have these compelling tags to display. And taking a look at how we set up our initial modeling, we used primarily text and structured data, which was really easy to read and use. It was available to us. It's easy to verify that it's accurate. But as a result, it had low coverage because most of this information about our members, like I mentioned, is locked beneath these photos. So how can we actually access what's inside these photos in a scalable way that's accurate and meets our privacy and security needs? This is where Rekognition comes in. So Rekognition not only offers cloud scalability that can handle the volume of the billions of images that we have, but it also offers powerful features that our teams of data scientists and machine learning experts can then leverage to create sophisticated models that can help solve Tinder's complex problems at scale. Privacy is also really important to us, like I mentioned, and Rekognition provides separate APIs that provide control and allow us to access only the features that we want. By building on top of Rekognition signals, we were able to more than double the tag coverage for our members. So let me talk a little bit about how tagging works and how Rekognition fits in. So when members sign up and they upload photos or add new ones, what we do is we can take these photos and run them through Rekognition's processing, which can then provide us labeled data with confidence about what's going on in them. In these cases, we can see our foodie over here who's ready to chow down on some gourmet burgers and fries, and we can also see our alpine adventurer who's hiking through the snowy mountains. These labels then feed into our tagging system along with the other information that we have to produce these tags as below the profiles. So we've got many different types of data that we ingest and consume. A couple of them are things that are very structured data. So this could be things like what your education is or what your job is. Some of these are rich media types, like photos, which we can process using Rekognition, and some are unstructured data. This can be things like raw text in your profile. We've got different processing techniques that we use for each of these, and eventually we extract this information and feed it into our feature store, which is a unified service that allows us to manage online, streaming, and batch processing. We take this information and we feed it through our tagging system to figure out what we can highlight about each profile. When it comes to actually serving this, when a member wants to get their top picks, we query our recommendation cluster. This is the same underlying technology that powers the core recommendations in the product. And when we do this, we look at what is the user looking for? What outcomes are we trying to achieve for them? What is it that we can do to provide really personalized, high-quality matches? After we get those matches back, we pull the tags for them in top picks. And we take a look at what's the best tag to provide to this user to really make that engagement shine. So now I want to talk a little bit about the future. So we've been really pleased by Rekognition's high pace of innovation, and we're really excited to take advantage of some of the recent features that have come out, that have enhanced the model accuracy, added hierarchical data that allows us to better categorize and cluster content, and bounding boxes that allow us to not only understand what objects are in the photos, but where they are in the photos and how they're being interacted with. We can use this information to get really deep about the knowledge of what's going on in our members' lives and how we can use that information to provide better services to them. Rekognition now helps power tagging for top picks in Sao Paulo, Brazil. We're very excited to incorporate these features and launch globally and incorporate them not only into our tagging, but also see how we can leverage them in recommendation to provide even more relevant, better matches. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tom. Wow, was that pretty cool? I thought the amazing thing to me is how much Tinder users naturally communicate through the pictures that they post, not through the text. What Tom and his team are doing is listening to the way his customers are naturally using the product. They're making the customers, helping them speak in their own language more effectively. And it's very humbling to be able to help as part of that. So thank you again, Tom. So let's talk about a second use case for Rekognition, which is moderation of safe content. This is really important because with the proliferation of content, either global professional content that's getting exposed to new audiences or certainly user-generated content, gosh, there's a lot to go through, and it has a big impact on the experience that your customers have. And as if that volume weren't hard enough, it turns out the world and the cultures around the world have idiosyncratic standards about what safe actually means. Well, Rekognition can help, and we have customers who are already using it today to help moderate the content that they put in front of their customers. The way this works is not to flag content as safe or unsafe, but rather to provide tags, labels, of the nature of the content that we found with a confidence score, so that you, as a business, can apply your own policies for your own sets of customers. And you can have a flexible implementation that scales around the world, takes that nuance into account. To continue our tour of dating digitally, Coffee Meets Bagel is a customer who's spoken loudly about using Rekognition for content moderation to protect the experience that their customers have. And it turns out what Coffee Meets Bagel was able to do is really amazing. They lowered their moderation costs by 72% while keeping the safety bar as high as it ever was, because they can focus the efforts of their human moderators on fuzzier, harder to understand images. And the obvious stuff can go through really quickly. And this is important as you build a global business with global customers. So now let's talk about global businesses. News UK knows all about how to communicate with customers all around the world. And I'd like to invite Rudy D'Souza, who's the Director of Engineering and Architecture, to talk about how his company is using Rekognition.
Thank you very much. So, let's see if this is working. So a bit of an introduction to who we are. I'm aware that most of you will not know who News UK are. So brands that you may be a little bit more familiar with are The Times, The Sunday Times, and The Sun in the UK. News UK is part of a much bigger global media empire. We're the UK-based subsidiary of News Corp. And some of the brands that you may be a little bit more familiar with here in the US would be brands such as Wall Street Journal and Dow Jones. In the UK, my team is responsible for building the digital products that power The Times, The Sunday Times, and The Sun. So Rekognition and what we set out to do. Currently, we wanted to improve the image workflow of our newsrooms, particularly in The Times and The Sunday Times. So currently, The Times uses Open Text Content Hub for publishers as its asset management solution. And we process thousands of images arriving per day from a variety of different sources. We wanted to spend a bit of time seeing if some newer technologies could help us improve and further augment the variety of sources that we get coming in. So we wanted to do this by increasing the search granularity and speed of finding a suitable image for a news story by using a more efficient content categorization and content search. We also have 233 years of archive content. So the image you see there on the left is from the 1st of January, 1785. And as images started supplementing the written word over the years, we gathered up a huge content archive. And we wanted to see if we could use tools like Rekognition to help us build new products and new sets for our customers. Finally, we wanted to explore the possibility of cost savings on storage costs for a single image repository used by all content applications across all of our titles. So we chose to work with AWS ProServe to create a proof of concept to test the hypothesis that Rekognition could be used as is on our production workloads. Using Rekognition's already trained machine learning models via APIs such as the labels, text, faces, celebrities, and content moderation APIs to automatically analyze existing images within CHP, we were able to create rich new metadata that contained detailed attributes about the discovered visual content that helped us identify that Rekognition is indeed a tool that will enable our needs going forward to supplement the existing IPTC pre-inserted metadata to enable the formation of new types of deep search constructs for quick identification of a chosen image in a news article. So how we did it, initially we took a snapshot of about 53,000 images from our existing archives. We indexed them for labels, text, faces, celebrity, and content moderation. Using Rekognition, we put together quite a common AWS stack using products such as Elasticsearch, Lambda, Cognito, and S3. And we were able to efficiently put together a proof of concept that allows us to test the hypothesis fully and evaluate the potential uses of Rekognition at scale. So what did we learn? What did we realize throughout it? It enabled us to automatically categorize newly arriving image files relative to their image content and prioritize really hot, suitable images for breaking news stories. In a newsroom like The Sun, where we're pushing out 400 news articles a day, this time is of the essence. So we were able to automatically supplement images using existing baseline flat IPTC metadata with extra rich Rekognition auto-discovered labels to enable the formation of a new type of deeper search construct relative to machine learning discovered image content such as celebrity and location data. Costs when compared to other industry solutions are significantly lower, and the opportunity to create better experiences for our readers is invaluable. Finally, as an added benefit, we were able to automatically determine if an image or video contained explicit or suggestive content using a hierarchical taxonomy to label images as potentially sensitive. So what did we learn? The proof of concept exposed the need for internal changes to our backend content platforms in order to have well-structured workflows relative to centralized data sets. And while recognition is plug and play, it works best when the data sets you have and that it's applied to are cleaned, structured, and well set up. So AWS Recognition can generate a lot of metadata. You can't consume it all. You should be ready to define API tolerances to determine just how much metadata you're going to get back and decide what you're going to do with it. Get ready to deal with really lots and lots of data. So what's next? We're currently working on our backend systems. We're creating a structured, centralized data lake and re-architecting our internal systems to integrate with tools such as Rekognition and what they can do for us in the future. We're evaluating options for image workflows using Rekognition-derived metadata on our 233 years of archived content data and looking at what products we can build with that. Finally, we're spending our time working out just how efficiently we can create and consume more and more data without having it become an overwhelming burden to our journalists and our readers. So watch this space as we continue to work closely with AWS and the Rekognition team to improve our collective offerings. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Rudy. You know, it's inspiring to see the speed with which these applications start to land, and also the sophistication of the customers who are doing it. All the customers that we've spoken about so far know a lot about data science and their own data. They know about computer vision. The fact that they're able to use Rekognition and leverage it for what they're trying to accomplish is inspiring. So I promised you 3 use cases and the features behind them. Let's talk about one more. Let's talk about using Rekognition to not just surface content, but engage your customers by evaluating faces and images and video. Now, there's 2 ways you can do that. We'll talk about customer analysis, which refers to identifying and learning from the faces that you find in your media in terms of trends rather than recognizing the individuals. And then there is recognizing individual customers who have opted in so you can engage with them in a more personal way. And Rekognition helps you do each of these related but different things. First is face detection. With Rekognition, you can easily spot faces in an image, find out which images have faces in them, where they are, how big they are, how they're oriented. Rekognition provides key landmarks, so you can help spot the landmarks of the face. And you can combine this with some of the features we spoke about earlier, such as label and object detection. If you're a fashion manufacturer, you might look for social media images of people wearing your glasses or some kinds of glasses or glasses like yours. You might look for the activities that they're doing when they're wearing your glasses. You can learn a lot from that. And with our face APIs, you can pull out information about these people that help you learn from your audience, learn from your customers. You can find out what's the age window, how many men versus women, what's their style, do they have facial hair? In addition to the kinds of clothes that they're wearing, what's their disposition? Are they happy? Are they laughing, intense? Are they not happy? And the Rekognition face APIs help you get all this information. Now, on the theme of continuous improvement, this is already a really hard problem. And it's something that customers have told us they're very happy to not have to resolve themselves. And at the same time, we as Amazon are investing to make it better and better. Just last week, we announced new features of our face detection APIs that more accurately detect and position faces that have extreme poses or extreme lighting, or even have blurs or occlusions that are obscuring part of the face. If you look at some of these images, you can even imagine that out of the corner of your eye, you might not spot the face. You might think the one on the left is It's actually one, not two people. Recognition is getting better and better. And as a Rekognition customer, you get all these benefits without having to invest in new capabilities yourself. So that's facial analysis. For customers who opt in, you can use Rekognition to establish an even closer relationship with those customers. Customers who opt in to provide a photo of themselves can have those photos matched against other photos. And you can see if the same person occurs in two that you already know. We can even help you identify if it's the same person who may be wearing different facial hair, different clothing in a very different environment, from a different position or pose or angle. And we can provide similarity scores or match or confidence scores that help you evaluate, yeah, that's probably the same guy, or no, it's definitely not. Let's talk about how some customers are using this. AIM Credit is a bank in Africa that uses Rekognition face matching capabilities to validate that their customers are the same ones as presented on an ID. You can snap a photo of a government ID card and provide a selfie. And Rekognition can authenticate that, yeah, that's probably the same guy. And we're humbled by the data point AIM Credit shared that they saw greater than 90% accuracy, far better than they've seen with other providers. And it just keeps getting better. As another example, in another type of use case, a customer in Korea, an entertainment customer called K-Star Group, has a different standard. They want to make event ticketing less onerous, maybe a little bit more fun, with face-based ticketing. Single factor in this case. Customers who opt in don't have to present a paper ticket. Instead, they can have their face matched against an image that they previously provided and walk right in. And the lines got shorter, and the events got more fun for K-Star customers. So that's a little bit about what Rekognition is, what it does, why it's important. And I promised I'd also talk about how easy it is to get started. When I say easy, I mean really easy. I see some of the folks in this room have laptops. You can try it right now. If you go to the AWS console/Rekognition, you can drag and drop your own images in and see what you find. Try all the different APIs. We even provide some images to help you get started. It is really, really easy to get started with Rekognition. Everybody can do it. Now, moving past your first test is also pretty straightforward. There is a very common pattern that many of our customers use. You don't have to worry about scalability or provisioning. Drop your images and your video into an S3 bucket, fire an event to a Lambda function that calls the appropriate Rekognition API, and you're going to get your result, and you can take an action on it. Now, there's a variation of this that is popular for certain use cases, especially the content moderation pattern that I spoke about before. There are some use cases where you'd like to send results past a human reviewer for a second check, especially when the confidence score is below a certain threshold. And that's easy to do with Rekognition. Instead of automatically making a decision based on the output, you can automatically route the decision through a human reviewer or a subset. This is popular, and you can tune the volume of results that go past your human reviewers over time. There is yet another flavor of this that is popular, which allows you to apply Rekognition to streaming video. You can send video into Rekognition through Kinesis streams, Kinesis video streams. And your analysis output can go straight to a Lambda, and It's pretty straightforward, just like the asynchronous pattern I showed a minute ago. So that's a bit about what is recognition and why it's important. To wrap up, if there's one thing you take away, Rekognition is a managed computer vision service. You give us images and video, and you ask us questions, and we give you information back. And when you use it, you get these state-of-the-art capabilities, plus continuous improvement, and low cost and high scalability, and your data is your own. And Rekognition is available in 9 AWS regions around the world. You can expect to see this map growing rapidly in 2019. And we're so excited to share it with you. For those who want more information, there's even more sessions. You can learn more and more about Rekognition and how other customers are using it throughout the rest of the week. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for your time.